All right. Thank you everyone for joining me tonight. I'm really excited about trying this out tonight. This is a first for us. During the pandemic, I have to tell you, we learned a lot. And one of the things that we learned early on, what a great opportunity it was to speak directly to residents in a lot of different ways than we had been in the past. For instance, as things got difficult during the pandemic, we would once a month, if not more than one time a month, speak directly to our business community and our churches and our stakeholders in our community, and really just have a direct, candid discussion about where things were at regarding the pandemic. And we found those to be really exceptional give and take from the community and to our city government about what was going on. And we've continued to do that. And actually, even as recently as last month, we had over 100 businesses on the call. So I appreciate residents tuning in tonight. I don't know if your life is anything like mine, but it was a hectic evening. I feel really good about the fact I got home from work. I was somehow able to mow the lawn, feed my kids. I have 2 out of the 3 in bed right now, which means 1 is on the loose. So at any given moment, you may see a child run across the screen, and I apologize ahead of time for that. But I have 3 little kids, 3 little boys, all under the age of 6. So you can imagine what my house is like. But part of the reason we want to do this is that we understand everyone else is just as busy as I am, and we are. And we want to be able to just speak in a casual way with you, not at you, about what's going on in your community at a time where maybe your kids are in bed. You're able to jump on a Zoom call and talk about things in an open dialogue. So this is our first one tonight. We're going to continue to try to do this. We did have a number of questions submitted ahead of time, and we'll get to those over the course of this hour. We will be respectful of everyone's time, so we will end this at 9 o'clock tonight. If you have any questions that you want to ask real time that per this conversation get brought up, feel free to enter those in the Q&A, and those will get to me, and I'll do my very best to answer as many of these questions as I can tonight. If I can't get to all of them, I promise you that myself and our team will make sure we get you the answers that you asked throughout the night. I did not do this to try to end up in some sort of long drawn out debate with anybody about a particular issue, one or another. I know there's a lot of passion on a lot of different issues out there, and I respect that. Tonight, we're just really trying to inform you about things that you might want to know about, and maybe some of the thought process behind what we've done. So with that, I want to jump right into it. I have a special guest with me tonight, Monica Heltz, our public health director, and I do not want the entire night to be consumed by the pandemic, but I think it would be obviously disingenuous if we didn't have a bit of a conversation about where we stand as a community in regards to the pandemic. There's been a lot of information out there lately about Johnson & Johnson vaccine, about where we're going with cases, all those types of things. And so to kick it off tonight, I really, Monica and I have had countless hours of discussion and debate over a variety of things over the last year. And I certainly have learned a lot in this journey around public health, learning more every day. Excited about the fact that I think tomorrow, is it, that we're vaccinating almost 900, or maybe it was today, but I'm going to let Monica talk a little bit about that. But Monica, I don't want to dwell on the past. We have a couple of questions in here that I'll get to later on about kind of the origins of the health department. But for the people that are on the call tonight and they're just wondering kind of where we're at as a community, as we boil down, what would you say is the abbreviated version of kind of the status of our community as we sit here today?
Well, hopefully we're on the cusp of getting back to normal from being through a worldwide pandemic. That's what I'm hoping where we're at. We've seen our case rates go way up in the winter time, and then they started to go back down again. And with the vaccinations available, we're getting more and more people vaccinated every day, as you mentioned. Around 900 a day right now. We have about 1,200 planned for Saturday. So we're doing everything we possibly can to get the community back to normal as quickly as possible, given the state of the world right now.
Monica, I saw an email today that came across my desk that put things in perspective about your vaccination site, where I believe we're either the second or third largest vaccination site pretty much in the state right now. So I think it's important for people to understand the magnitude of the operation that's underway at 116th and Brook School, and where we started when vaccinations were very hard to get our hands on to where we are today and what we think our capabilities are. But you want to talk just a little bit about the scale of the operation that is underway at 116th and Brook School?
Yeah, we yeah, we started with I think 40 the first 2 days that we did vaccinations. So we've come a long way to be at about 1,200 on Saturday, and we think we could probably do 1,500 fairly comfortably in a day, possibly even more if we were to extend hours and things like that. But for those of you that haven't been out to our site at 116th and Brook School, it's a beautiful facility where anybody that comes to see it is very happy with it. It's a great use of the old marsh space. But more than that, I think it's just really well organized and has come together through the help of all the different city agencies with our public works department, our IT department, the fire department, just with logistical help and everything. It's just a great, efficient setup for getting people safely through and serving our community in the best and most efficient way possible. So
Let's get down to brass tacks here, Monica. I mean, a lot of news over the last few days about Johnson and Johnson. Every conversation I start with now, where it used to be kind of who'd you root for in that football game? Now it's, are you a Pfizer? Are you a Moderna? Are you a Johnson and Johnson? And people have different opinions. The news the other day kind of rocked everybody's world. My wife and I got a Johnson and Johnson shot from our health department a couple of weeks ago. Should people, if you've gotten the Johnson and Johnson shot, should you be concerned post your shot? And if you haven't gotten it yet, what are your thoughts, going forward?
So I would not be terribly concerned if you did get the Johnson and Johnson shot. The FDA and CDC have paused the rollout of that just to do a more in-depth review of the data. This is very similar to the process that happened in Europe with the AstraZeneca vaccine. It appears to be a similar, very rare reaction. But just to put it in perspective, this is based off of a report of 6 different events of blood clots that appear to have been possibly triggered by people who received the vaccine. And that's out of 7 million people who have been vaccinated with the Johnson and Johnson vaccine so far. So, whether the blood clots were actually triggered by the vaccine or not, that may be likely, but we're talking about an incredibly rare condition that's combined with a lot of other factors. People have low platelet counts apparently. So anyway, the Committee on Immunization Practices is reviewing what maybe some specific criteria are that would exclude people from receiving that vaccine, if there are any that we can identify. But again, it's incredibly rare. And quite frankly, the risk of getting blood clots from COVID is much, much higher than that. And the risk of getting blood clots from other things is much higher than from this vaccine. So blood clots are absolutely a very serious thing. They affect a lot of people every year. But in the grand scheme of things for this vaccine, if you've had Johnson and Johnson, I wouldn't be terribly concerned. But of course, if you develop extreme pain in your abdomen or your head or your gut or shortness of breath, those are all signs of blood clots. You would want to get evaluated as soon as possible, regardless of whether you had that vaccine or not.
So we set a goal, an ambitious goal, to try to get 85% of all of our age groups vaccinated, and so far we're doing actually pretty well. We're outpacing the state of Indiana on the rates in which our populations are getting vaccinated. But I would tell people, and I think Monica, you can affirm or contradict, but the older population, we saw a really great adoption rate in those older ages. We're not sure yet. The jury's still out as we get to younger ages, whether we're going to still see that same kind of uptake or willingness to take the shot. Obviously part of the reason we don't know that yet is they haven't had as long of a period of time to go get the shot, but we're going to be watching that very closely and communicating directly with the residents as we go through this process, and really try to encourage people as much as humanly possible to get out there and get that shot. One thing I just want to finish up with before we go to some questions relevant to the health department. I have 3 little kids, one in school. A lot of the people I work around, I know, Monica, you have kids in school. So you want to talk a little bit about where you think the vaccines are going for kids under the age of 18, and should we expect that any, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but should we expect that any kid that's going to public school by the time the fall comes around would likely at least have the opportunity to have gotten a shot?
I don't think we're quite there yet. So anybody 16 and up can get the shot right now. 16 and 17-year-olds are able to get the Pfizer vaccine. So that's an important consideration. Also, Pfizer has also submitted for emergency authorization use for kids 12 and up. So we are anticipating that will be reviewed here in the next couple of weeks and possibly approved. So we are making plans for, possibly vaccinating kids ages 12 and up. So that's on the immediate horizon, which is great. But the trials are pretty early for kids under 12 right now. So we're not anticipating that there will be vaccine availability to kids under the age of 12 by the fall, but things could change. So if that happens, great. We'll adjust accordingly, but I would not anticipate that.
Great. So I want to touch on a couple of questions that came in prior to tonight, and these are really great questions because it provides an opportunity for education. So one of the questions I get a lot is the health department an extra layer of government since there's a county health department? So let me tell you why there's a very interesting distinction here and why I was so excited about the opportunity to integrate this into local government. Under Indiana law, you as a municipality really have a choice as to whether you pay a tax to the county government and they provide public health services, or you charge a tax rate at your local level and you provide those public health services. So it's not a duplication of services. The county health department is not providing the services to the city of Fishers as we speak. The city of Fishers is. In fact, as we think about the financial ramifications of that decision, in 2021, this fiscal year, the tax rate for the health department, which we're running in the city of Fishers, is 1 cent. And the tax rate for the county health department is 1.3 cents. So in reality, your public health tax rate, if you will, is actually less than it would be if you were in the county government. The sources of funding for health departments in the state of Indiana are that tax rate, if you will, but also your ability to collect fees on things like restaurants, inspections, different sewer permitting inspections, things like that. All of those were at or under the county's fee structure. So in reality, I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to deliver a service. I think, Monica, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've offered nearly 40,000 free COVID tests to our residents. Is that the correct number, Monica?
It's actually quite a lot higher than that. So it is about that number for the tests that were set up through the process that we initially set up, but we've added an additional layer through some funding from the state as an option. So it's actually quite a lot more than that, probably 20,000 more tests that we've conducted.
So I think what's important to note there, if you remember back in the spring of last year, finding testing was very, very difficult. The capability to go get your family tested if you thought you were sick was darn near impossible. And if you did do it on the market, it was about $100 per test if you were to go get that test. We were able to provide that to our residents, 60,000 of them, for free to the resident, in the sense that you're not paying out of your pocket for that $100 test. On top of that, I think as of today have vaccinated or at least administered 20,000 vaccination shots at our facility. And we're going to continue to provide those levels of services. But even moving forward, as we think about the health department, one of the things that I'm most excited about is the ability to integrate the concepts of health into the environment that we're building in our city, whether that's Monica and her team working with our restaurant community, which has been really a very helpful conversation back and forth with our restaurateurs. In fact, I was at another Broken Egg today for lunch, and the manager came up to me and just said, thank you for all the communication and the conversations with your staff. It's been great over this last year working with them. And I know we've got a lot of innovative programs that we look to bringing forward that would actually help and support our local business community through our health department. So we're really, really very, very excited about that, and understand that this conversation about integrating health started before COVID, whether about our mental health, whether fitness, the entire gamut, if you will. We really want to focus on creating a community here in Fishers where people can truly, reach a truly healthy outcome in our city. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss any questions on the health department. There's a question, Dr. Borf mentioned in the board meeting that Fisher's Health Department is setting something up to possibly do vaccinations with the schools. Any details there? So I think what this question is, Monica, not so much about teachers, because you already knocked it out of the park in my book. You know, once we found out teachers were eligible, we provided vaccinations for any teacher that wanted it within 48 hours of that notification. And I think we did about 800 or 900 teachers. But I think this question is more about if students were to be eligible for the vaccination, are we contemplating vaccinating in the schools?
Yeah, so we're already making plans. We've been talking to the various schools in the district that would have students who are 12 and up, and making plans for probably initially similar to the way that we did with the teachers, having what we call a closed pod, like a time and date set aside where, you know, only students would be coming into the vaccine site, and then moving to having them at the various schools, probably outside of school hours initially, and then possibly inside school hours as we progress through this. But consent for children obviously is a concern, so we want to make sure we have all that ironed out.
Yeah, so just for any of those people out there that believe it's Big Brother or trying to inoculate your children without consent, that obviously is not the case. That anyone under the age of 18, there's some very strict requirements for consent before that would ever occur. And so everyone should just feel comforted by that. And hopefully we will continue to push as much information as we can out to the public as we learn more as this vaccine rolls out. Monica, is there anything else from your perspective that we should touch on regarding, I know I'll say it for you, social distance, mask, you know, the basics, but anything else that you want to share with the group before we move on to some other community issues?
Yeah, I mean, just as a reminder, the health departments do a lot more than just than pandemic fighting, although that certainly has consumed a large portion of our time and energy this past year. But we do have a lot of other things going on: restaurant inspections, pool inspections, health education classes and opportunities coming up. We'll be out at the farmers market over the summer, so you can talk to us there every single week. So a lot of cool things coming up and moving forward as we hopefully, you know, move forward out of this pandemic, but we're still working hard to get us out of there, and that depends on all of you all, you know, continuing to take this seriously, getting vaccinated. We've got to have a high proportion of the community vaccinated in order to be able to move forward.
Well, thank you, Monica, and thanks for your team and all of your work. And we look forward to getting back to normal as soon as possible. I do want to touch on a few other items for you guys tonight. I'm really, really excited about where we're at from a parks perspective. We're doing a significant amount of investment in our park system, and wanted to just give you guys some updates on a few different parks that have been top of mind lately. First off, at the Board of Works this last week, we approved a contract to break ground basically and start the first phase of Geist Waterfront Park. Our Sarah Sandquist, our Parks Director, will actually be at our City Council meeting on Monday at the work session, giving everyone an update on the first phase. This is going to be a 2-year construction project, so it's a pretty significant build out there along Oleo Road Bridge. We do intend to build a beach right there on Geist. This will be a gated park, which will provide a prioritization for Fisher's residents. We're really, really excited about this park. It's a passive park, so yes, there'll be a beach. There'll be the ability to have a picnic with your family. There'll be a playground, things of that nature. This is not a baseball or soccer or concert park. This is really more of a nature park, if you will. And we're really, really excited about breaking ground on the first phase of that park. And if you want to learn more, I suggest you tune in on Monday night when our Parks Director will tell you a little bit more about that as we move forward. The one of my favorite recent innovations in our park system has been the Agri Park. This year I stopped out there just the other day to see how things were going. Our farmer Trevor, as I call him, he's out there. The farm looks amazing. We have a food share program where you can literally buy a monthly membership, and we provide food every week to you, fresh off the farm, so to speak. We've doubled the amount of produce out there. We're going to have a lot more livestock and animals, and we're doing our first summer camp this year for kids. In fact, I signed my 6-year-old up to go out and be a part of that this summer. So I really am excited about that. If you haven't a chance, drive by there. It's really come together nicely, and we're very, very excited about it. On another update in regards to parks, if some of you have seen this, maybe not all of you have seen it, there's been a conversation about building a community center in the city of Fishers. We have weathered the storm, so to speak, the pandemic storm very well from a financial perspective. And we're at a point, I think, in our community where an investment in some sort of larger community center to bring residents together for a variety of things would be a good thing to explore. So I asked Council Member Todd Zimmerman to head up a committee of residents to really think about what do we want to create if we were to build something. What kind of aspects would we want in that? We put out a survey to our residents to hear what they wanted. I think we had over 3,000 residents fill out that survey. So a lot of really, really good information coming back from our residents. And the one overwhelming thing that I can tell you is it seems to be a very popular idea. And so what we're really working on now is how do we incorporate the elements? How do we prioritize the ideas that residents have? And that's what Council Member Zimmerman, in fact, tonight, as we're speaking, I believe they have a meeting, or they had a meeting earlier this evening as a committee talking through this. Our goal, just from a timing perspective, so everyone knows, would be to provide kind of a vision statement, if you will, for what we want to create based on resident feedback to the broader community, probably no later than the end of May. And then get some feedback from our residents. And if everyone kind of believes, not everyone, because we can't get 12 people to agree on anything, but if we can get to some consensus for the most part around general ideas of what they'd like to see in those facilities, then throughout the summer and into the fall, I would be working with our financial team, our construction and design folks to identify a location, really start to work. And I'm optimistic that we could be building state-of-the-art community facility no later than this next spring. So a lot of work to be done on that front, but I'm really, really excited. We've got some great stakeholders at the table, whether you're talking about our parks department, our youth sports groups, the YMCA. We've got a lot of different people adding their opinions and thoughts, and the arts community is involved and engaged. I really think we're going to build something that the community can be very, very proud of. The only other question I see here on parks is, and this is always a very popular one, will there be a dog park? This is always a top of mind for a lot of people. Is there going to be a dog park? I think that's an element of this project that we're going to look at. Is there an opportunity to build not only a facility, but could we build some green space around it where there's a potential for a dog park? I think we're long overdue for a dog park. Personally, I think people would love it. I would love to see what the census would say about how many dogs actually live in Fishers. It's incredible to see just how many are out and about. And to that point, I was able to cut the ribbon on the Humane Society the other day. And if you haven't had a chance to check that out, at 106th and Hague Road, you really need to go check out that facility. It is incredible. And one of our very own Fishers residents, Steve Cage, donated $4 million to that facility. It's a great story. His cat is actually on the wall of the building, but it is a state-of-the-art facility. And I think we should all be proud of the fact that they decided to move that to Fishers and build it here. A little bit like the parks, I want to talk a little bit about Nickel Plate Trail. This is a hot topic. I'm always really proud of the fact whenever I drive across that road or across the trail, I look down at it and I see people walking on it, even though by no means are we completed with the construction schedule. Got a number of questions from people tonight about the trail and the status of the trail. So let me just run down a couple of those. And the ones that I don't have specific answers for you tonight, we'll get those out in an email to you or posted on our website. But as you know, the first phase of the trail was built last year, and it was basically the path from North Street in downtown Fishers north to, I believe, 131st Street, and then south from basically South Street to 106th Street, or where the Hub and Spoke project is. And in between those two is really the big project that we're going to kick off here shortly, and we really already have, and that is the tunnel under 116th Street. Anyone who's ever tried to walk across the 116th Street understands the need for a different type of crossing, a safer crossing for any of our residents. And while we were looking at that, we decided to really build something that I think will be world-class infrastructure, somewhere where someone would feel very comfortable walking around and then just enjoying an evening in downtown Fishers and crossing under that tunnel. You know, one of the things as we were designing it, we didn't want to build a tunnel that if you were a single person walking under there in the evening, that you would feel uncomfortable. So we spent a lot of time and frankly, a decent amount of funds to ensure that we could provide that. So we're going to build that tunnel. We've started on the south side of 116th Street already. You'll see that already underway. There's going to be some stairs next to it. And then we're going to close 116th Street shortly after school gets out. And it's going to be closed for approximately 60 days. I know it's going to be difficult, but we're going to get through it. We're going to close that for 60 days. We're going to build that tunnel. And then on the north side of 116th Street, we're gonna build the rest of that, and we hope to have the entire tunnel section done by the end of the year. And so by the end of this year, our hope is that from 131st Street to 106th Street, you will have a complete trail with a really kind of a world-class experience in the downtown area. And then we're working on some additional funding opportunities to finish out all the way down to 96th Street and then all the way up to 146th Street. The tunnel is an expensive project. It's approximately $8 million to get the full tunnel done. So that has not been a cheap endeavor by any means, but it's something that we felt very strongly that is necessary for this project. The remaining stretches of the trail have been a little more basic, if you will. They're about $1 million a mile, give or take, for the asphalt path. Keep in mind the 2040 plan that we put together for the trail. That truly is a long-term plan that will build over a period of time. So all of the amenities or all the different concepts that were shown in that plan, those aren't going to necessarily be open the minute we open the trail. But we are working through trying to get the backbone of the trail done and open for everyone to use as soon as possible. We do want to get some basic amenities like trash cans and things like that out there as soon as possible because we're overwhelmed by the popularity of the trail. And we're continuing to work with our residents along that corridor to make sure that we're getting all of their concerns around. You know, we've had motorcycles on the trail, believe it or not. We've had even a car has driven on the trail. So we're trying to track all of that down and make sure we take care of everyone in regard to that. My goal, again, on the question about the timeline between 96 and 146th Street, I would love to have the whole thing wrapped up in Fishers in terms of your ability to get from 146 to 96th Street by the end of next year. Would be the ideal situation. And I'm optimistic that we can get that done sooner rather than later. Moving on beyond the trail, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about with Parks, which I'm pretty excited about. The Parks Department will actually be moving its headquarters from 116th and Brook School to the hub and spoke at 106th Street. We'll have a grand opening, hopefully in the next 60 to 90 days. Not only will they have their headquarters there, but they will also be working in the maker space that we have at hub and spoke. We're very, very excited about that to allow residents to get in there and be a part of it. I do see one question just popped up. Why did you choose to do a tunnel under 116th Street instead of a bridge? Two reasons. One, if you look down that corridor before, there are massive Duke Energy transmission lines that run right down the trail. And there would be no way to be able to put a bridge and not interfere with those transmission lines. The other part of it is if you put the bridge there in order to meet ADA capabilities, you would have to slope the bridge back a significant way. And in doing so, you would block the windows of all of the buildings and development along that corridor. So a tunnel was really the only option. And believe it or not, from a cost perspective, they're fairly similar in their costs associated with it. Let's stick downtown for just a minute. There was another question that came up about development between 106th Street, if you stay with me here, 106th Street and Lantern Road down to 116th Street. So if you get off the exit at 106th Street, I assume this is a question the person's asking, and you take a right and you head towards downtown and you see those two new apartments that are going up right now. One's pretty much done and the other one's still somewhat under construction. Between that and let's say the old Fishers Elementary School, or all the way down to downtown. The question was basically, what can we expect there? What kind of development do we think we're going to see in our community in that area? I actually believe the vast majority of that will be single family homes. Now they'll be closer together. They'll probably be, if you've seen some of the newer homes going up, they're buying older homes and putting 2 newer homes on those lots. I think you're going to see a continuation of that. You might see some townhomes, but I don't think you should anticipate more multifamily in that area. I think you should anticipate people who want urban living, but they want to own their own home. I think that will be a neighborhood down in that area. That would be our goal, and what we're already seeing happen with Gradison's development in that area. And to that question, someone asked the question about the sustainability of our rapid growth. And I think, sustainability is one of those words that you can either mean financially sustainable or you can mean environmentally sustainable. From my perspective, when we talk about financially sustainable, the growth that we've had in our community is one of the reasons, frankly, that we've been able to keep our tax rate as low as we have and still invest in the things that people need, like fire stations and roads and things of that nature. When it comes to the environmental perspective of it, and there were a number of questions that came in earlier today about environmental sustainability and what are our plans. Really excited. Deputy Mayor Elliot Holgren is heading an internal committee to look at what we're doing from an environmental perspective. And we're looking at doing a solar panel RFP for city government buildings that we're excited about getting out the door, because economically it just makes sense these days. All of our police cars are now hybrid vehicles that come standard in the new police cars. We're doing a kind of an overall evaluation of our internal operations to see what opportunities we have to be more environmentally conscious, and we look forward to continuing to develop that and communicate that with the public. I think the next step for us as we develop the internal side of it is how do we provide external policies that can facilitate or be a catalyst for environmental stewardship moving forward in our community. And more to come on that, but I do think the wheels are in motion here at the city, and we're really, really excited about that moving forward. Couple other questions here I want to just answer. Somebody asked, and people always ask this question, the 2 questions really. Chick-fil-A, is it coming to Fishers and when? There was a rumor, I guess, that it was going at 116th and Allison. I'll tell you that is not the case. It's not going at 116th and Allisonville. I will tell you that is very interested. We've had a number of conversations with them. I have nothing to confirm with you right now about if they're coming or not, but I can tell you there is a desire on their part, and we'll see if they end up locating somewhere in the city of Fishers. The other question I still get, which amazes me, is a water park. For those of you new to Fishers, and by new I mean have moved in here since 2009, back in 08 and 07, there was an announcement of a $100 million hotel and water park that was going to go near State Road 37. And then 08 hit, the recession hit, they weren't able to get financed. And every year since then, people have asked, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? I have no indication that that project is moving forward. I have not heard anything from the developer in years. I don't know of anything. Now, they still own the land, so I can't speak to whether or not that might come back up. But as of right now, I would not hold my breath for that water park anytime in the near future, in particular tied to hotels, which are having difficulty getting financed these days in general anyways. Couple more questions here that I want to touch on. There's a question here about, I guess this is kind of the confirm or don't confirm the rumor mills. Is it true a mandatory percentage of any development to include workforce house? So this question came up basically saying that there were 2 projects recently. One, there was an affordable housing project at 141st Street and Cumberland Road, where HAND, which is a nonprofit, is building, I believe, 11 units for affordable housing. And then just recently, there were 10 units out of about 260 that were considered for affordable housing in a for rent project coming forward. And I think the question here is this a policy or an ordinance going forward that says every development therefore shall have affordable housing? There is no law on the books that says that has to be the case. I don't want to speak on behalf of the council, but I think there is a group of council members that are entertaining the notion of trying to incorporate, if we're going to do affordable housing, is it better to incorporate that into developments versus having them be standalone developments? I think that's a discussion that's ongoing with the city council and will continue to be so moving forward. But there's nothing in our unified development ordinance. There's nothing in our planning and zoning documents that would require a development to have affordable housing moving forward. But to say that affordable housing isn't top of mind for our council and in active conversation and consideration, it absolutely is. And that's going to be an ongoing discussion in our city and really across our country. There's no question that affordable housing is a hot topic that frankly is very contentious moving forward. So it is not a rule or an ordinance in the city of Fishers. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? What is the chance of having a road race through the streets? I don't know what kind of road race they're referring to, but what I would tell you is that one of our goals this year is really to get our community back on its feet and out in the streets, so to speak. I know the Geist half marathon was canceled for earlier this year. I will tell you that we've reached out to them and asked them, is there an opportunity to still have a race sometime this year? We want to see 5Ks. We want to see Spark Fishers come back. We want to see our community get out, get engaged, and be a part of our city moving forward. And that's something that's really important to me. I think a lot of us have missed the opportunities to be together, and we want to do that in any way, shape, or form that we can. Are there plans in the proposed Civic Center for an outdoor pool? What I can tell you on that question is that aquatics were very highly ranked in terms of priorities. Residents really seem to be very, very interested in the opportunity to have aquatics be a part of that facility. So I don't want to speak for the committee, but I'd be shocked if their vision statement came back with without some reference to an aquatic center of some sort, both indoor and outdoor. So I would, right now, I think there's probably a good chance that that occurs going forward. Another question here is library renovations. Is there still a plan to move the parking behind the library? I believe so. That's a library initiated renovation. They have kind of a new vision for their library. That's a separate board that doesn't report to me. That's a county board actually. And my understanding is that they do intend to do that. And we're kind of excited, frankly, from a parking and just pedestrian connectivity standpoint. So yeah, I mean, I think you should plan to see that. Now, whether it's this year or next year, I don't know the answer to that, but there will be some improvements in regard to the library moving forward. There were a series of questions about State Road 37, and just want to touch on that a little bit. One question is why would a resident of Fishers, why would a city of Fishers have to pay for costs associated with 146th Street, since the majority of 146th Street is not in Fishers? If you recall, and this was a number of years ago, it was actually when Governor Mike Pence was still in office. When that deal got struck, the city of Fishers and the county went together and said, we'll put money into this project, and the state, if you give us $100 million, we'll go get these 4 bridges done. And we really felt from 126 to 146 was truly the constraint or the traffic jams that we see in our community. Anyone that's been on 146 and 37 clearly understands the challenges that come with that road. And so we really felt it was in our best interest to see all 4 of those intersections get done or interchanges get done. And so I view this project as a whole, that it alleviates traffic, it improves the connection east-west in our community significantly. Whether 146th Street happens to be on our boundary or not, at the same time, I still think by doing all 4, it really has a tremendous impact on our community. I do want to apologize for the traffic delays that we're seeing on 146th Street right now. It's a 1-week closure of 146. We hope to have at least one side open here again shortly. We've been doing everything we can with signal timings to try to fix that. I was so thrilled with the way 126 and 37 went, how quickly we were able to get that project done without a lot of pain around traffic. Obviously, with COVID and the reduction in traffic, made things a lot easier. But 146th Street just got more traffic volume, so we're gonna try to get through that as quickly as possible. It looks like it's gonna be more than a year's worth of construction at 146 in Allisonville. We do hope to wrap up 131st and 135th yet this year. So again, it's going to be tremendous when it's done. I apologize for the inconvenience that you're dealing with right now, but certainly hope to continue to get that project done as soon as humanly possible. Another question in the development realm is what's going to happen with 116th in Allisonville? You know, we were able to purchase that property for a couple reasons. One, we felt it was getting in disrepair at 116th in Allisonville. This is on the southeast corner. Also, we have a road improvement scheduled for 116th in Allisonville in the, I believe it's 2024 timeframe. And we knew we were going to need a massive amount of right of way from that corner. So by purchasing that property, we try to kind of get ahead of the curve. The other side of the street, unfortunately, Kroger and Kite, the developer there, Kroger had a 2-year period of time where the big pad that's open there, they still are paying rent on it, but they had a restriction that said Kite couldn't go find someone else to replace them in the grocery business for 2 years. That is now expired. So I think Kite is trying to find additional developments to go in at 116th and Allisonville. They haven't had a lot of luck yet. We're in active discussions with them. It's a corner we want to see redevelop. We want to see a better development, a better growth, more dynamic situation than what we're seeing there right now. So just know that it's top of mind for us. We're trying to do the best that we can to get something done there. But frankly, we had to wait a couple of years for Kroger's non-compete to come off. I know I'm going quickly here, but I want to try to get as many questions that you all have answered to the extent that I can. Updates on 5G towers. So my relationship with 5G towers goes back literally 4 years when I fought at the legislature to try to provide as much local control as we could around the placement of these towers. Unfortunately, back then, they put a pretty sweeping bill in place that got adopted by the federal government, in fact. So the state passed a law, and then the federal government used the state law as a model for an entire federal preemption, basically of local control around these small cell tower sites. So we have very limited jurisdiction in what we can consider when we're looking at these cell towers. And in fact, just this year at the state legislature, there was a bill introduced, not from one of our local legislators, but from a state legislator. 1164 is the bill that would further strip away or erode locals' ability to have any say in whether a tower gets put in front of someone's home or not. Myself and our city attorney, Chris Kreisel, have fought as hard as we could to try to say that it's important for residents to have a voice. It's important for a resident to be able to come to their local elected official and say, hey, you know, if you move this tower 50 feet one way or another, it can make a big difference in my life and the impact on the value of my home. And we're going to continue to fight for that as long as we can. But know that the vast majority of our ability to decide these things, it's pretty limited. So there are towers approved in our community. They are out there working on those towers. They're also bringing fiber into the neighborhoods in anticipation of being able to connect to towers. So you might start seeing some of that. I would really encourage you to check our website at any point, and that'll help provide you some information in your neighborhood if it's indeed occurring. There isn't a very systemic approach to this. So I can't tell you that, oh, well, they're starting on the west side of our city and they're going to move to the east side. I can't guarantee you that that's the way it goes. It goes 5 towers in this neighborhood, then it'll skip over to another neighborhood and they'll ask for 2 towers here. really, it doesn't seem like rhyme or reason to us, but it's meeting whatever coverage needs that they may have. So just know that we're doing the best we can to provide a voice for you. And if you get frustrated by the fact that we may just very well tell you there's nothing we can do, understand that's because our hands are tied by federal preemptions in the law associated with this. Another question that came in was about 96th Street and the airport land. We have several hundred acres there of development. There was an Indy Star article the other day about a potential distribution site there. There are a number of projects that are looking at what I would call the south west corner of the airport that we think with the right buffering and the right development plan would make sense in that area, and will also be a catalyst for additional growth. So we do think that there's going to be some development on that 96th Street corridor yet this year, or at least in the coming years. Nothing along the Hague Road side yet. We're holding out, trying to find a really great project that kind of fits with Richie Woods and is complementary to the area. We just haven't seen anything yet that really fits that, but hopefully we will in the near future. Trying to go through here and make sure I didn't, oh, here's one. Someone asked, city recently announced a favorite part of my day contract. How quickly will we see outcomes from this contract? So this is a discussion in the city about diversity and race, and we've hired a consultant to come alongside the city of Fishers and do some work in this particular area. Desired outcomes, quite frankly, and I know that this is a hot button issue for so many people, and it seems as though at times we're in a bit of a cultural war. Really, our intentions and our focus as a community is to create an environment where everyone can reach their true potential. And if there's opportunities or impediments that we can reach out and accomplish for any one of our individuals or any one of our residents, we want to do that. So we'll have a plan and a rollout here in the near future for everyone to take a look at and provide their feedback. But we are making some very forward progress, and I'm very proud of the work that, for instance, Chief Ed Gebhardt and our police department are doing around transparency and working with the local communities. It's really exciting to see, and more to come on that front. But we're definitely working on and doing our part to ensure that our city is a city that everyone can be proud of and can frankly reach their true potential. Is there a plan for Marsh and 116th and Brook School? Well, right now I can tell you it's very busy as we give people shots, but I do know that season will come to an end at some point. We were fortunate enough to get a redevelopment plan together for 96 and Lantern, where that Marsh store was. We have a great company moving in there and should really give it a really kind of revitalized energy, if you will. I would love to see the same scenario at 116th and Brook School. We're going to be selective. Our city council put an ordinance in place where we said only a grocery store could go into that facility. And some people might say, well, that seems like an impediment for redevelopment of that area. Well, in some regards, that's true. But in other regards, one of the things that our city council didn't want to see, and I give them a lot of credit for, is they didn't want to see a discount liquor store in there. They didn't want to see a discount furniture store in there. They didn't want to see a used car dealership in there. So they said, look, we're open to all kinds of ideas, but if it deviates from what it is today, you need to come have a conversation with the city council so we can work through that. We can create a vision that's complementary to the neighborhood. So we're going to continue to work on that. We're always pushing the envelope for development and redevelopment, and hopefully more to come in that regard. So just know that we're not going to compromise, and we want to see something that, you know, is complementary to the neighborhoods around there. So more to come on that. Is there a possibility to dress up the perimeter of the utilities at 116th and Cumberland? Man, I wish there was. And if I could figure it out, I would. 116th and Cumberland is one of those intersections I drive through all the time. And, you know, we've worked hard to improve the aesthetics in our community, either by our development standards or architectural standards. Even, I don't know if you notice this, but I do, our public works department makes sure that our interchanges, 96th Street, 116th Street, are manicured and mowed. it's the little things to me, like just doing that type of thing tells you we have pride in our community and we have higher standards, and welcome to Fishers. This is who we are and what we're about. So I would love to see some sort of attempt to clean up that corner. There's no way we're going to be able to move it by any means. And I'm sure Duke has easements all around it that would make it almost impossible to do anything there, but never hurts to ask. So I will bring that up with Duke. Next question, is there any plans to expand Richie Woods parcel for sale on the south edge? I do not believe we plan on expanding Richie Woods to the south, but I will tell you, we recently bought land from the airport to the west and picked up, I can't remember off the top of my head, it was, I want to say 15 or 17 acres that we added to the west side where all the woods were. When we did our agreement with the airport, we decided to go ahead and buy that because we wanted to preserve Richie Wood, and continue to try to make that as best we could. This is a request, not a question. Please court Trader Joe's at 116th and Brook School. I hear a lot about people wanting a diversity of grocer, whether it's Whole Foods, whether it's Trader Joe's. We would love to see that type of thing. Anytime those brokers come knocking, we roll out the red carpet and try to figure it out. So we will do just that. We will try to continue to get the types of businesses that you want to see in our city. We love the fact that we have Top Golf, and we love that we have St. Elmo's and St. Joe Vici and all of these great places at the yard in the district. We have great people that live in Fishers, and we have a great community. And frankly, we can demand and deserve that type of development in our city. And we'll continue to push the envelope and try to create a community that people can get really excited about, and frankly, continue to see development thrive. In the few minutes that we have left, I thought I would just share maybe a couple thoughts about what you can anticipate in the next 60 to 90 days out of your city government. There's some big economic development news on the way in terms of jobs and investment that I hope we can announce here in the next few months. It's been actually a really great first quarter. Megan Baumgartner, our economic development director, has done an extraordinary job. Even in a tough economy, we came out of 2020 really, really busy, and there's going to be some great news in 2021 for jobs and investment in our city. It's road season, so we're going to be paving a lot of roads. We're looking forward to doing more asphalt paving than we've done in a long time to try to really make our neighborhoods look new again, if you will, reinvest in our community. You're going to see a lot on this community center, a lot of conversations around that. We were yesterday, I believe it was, it's kind of blurring together. We had a council member announce she was resigning. Sam DeLong is leaving for a family job opportunity in another state. So there will be a Democratic caucus to select a new council member to fill that role in the North Central District of our community. So you're going to see a new council member on the city council here yet this probably the next 30 to 45 days, to be honest with you. We're going to have a council retreat in May where we're going to try to talk about some big issues. We have our comprehensive plan coming up where we're going to talk about what we want our city to look like in 2040. There's been a lot of committee members, a lot of work being done on that already. So we're going to discuss that. And just genuinely, I think you're going to see our city come back to life. I mean, we're going to, whether it's community events, farmers markets, Tuesday summer concerts, movies in the park, Spark Fishers, it really is a time to rejoice in the fact that we made it through 2020, get vaccinated, re-engage in our city, fall back in love with the community that you live in. And hopefully I'll see you again here in about a month. If there are any additional questions you ever have, don't hesitate to reach out. If there's something I didn't answer adequately for you, that doesn't mean that it may be something I answered that you didn't agree with, but if there's something I didn't answer completely, by all means, reach out to me and let me know, and we'll be sure to get you all the information that you need. But again, I know how busy everyone is. Thank you for joining me tonight, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.